In Newcastle, it seems many were anxious to cast their votes early. Most polling booths reported a busy few hours after they opened this morning. Individual electoral officers say that voting throughout the day has gone smoothly with no apparent problems, although the number of absentee votes seemed higher than usual, perhaps due to people making the most of the good weather to head to beaches and lakes. However, for many of those working at the voting centres, it's been a long, hot day that won't end until 8 o'clock tonight.
The stadium in Mount View Road houses 2 full-size basketball courts, an entrance foyer, administration offices and catering facilities. At first, the site of the building was the centre of some controversy, but once resolved, it took just 12 months to complete. The project was made possible through the hard work of fundraisers in the basketball club and through grants from the Cessnock City Council and the state government. The Minister for Sport, Recreation and Tourism, Mr Michael Cleary, unveiled the plaque yesterday, after just recovering from a heart attack suffered late last year. He announced that sporting funds were frozen until August and hoped then to pour $67 million into similar projects around the state. The registration of players is growing quickly at the club since the facilities became available, and it's hoped that the state championships may be staged at the complex in the near future. And who knows, with the right sponsor, Cessnock may become a force to reckon with in the National Basketball League. The long-term plan is to clear the land of all waterfront houses and weekenders. At least 2 houses, which have been owned by the same family for generations, will have to go, but the boat hire and shop may be allowed to stay. The main objections by the residents are that the council has not adequately serviced existing public space, let alone the newer open areas, and that they may lose on their investments. In the plan passed by council last night, it was suggested that the acquisition should be completed as soon as possible, but the Mayor, Alderman Jeff Pasterfield, says any cases of hardship will be dealt with on their own merit.
We have always approached things on a very gradual basis in this regard. I don't think anyone can point to any instance of this council being over-aggressive in endeavouring to remove people from any location. What we've done, we've tried to ease the burden of people who are caught in the situation where change exists, and we will continue to do that. And certainly where people are in trouble, we will be endeavouring to assist them.
Also, at last night's meeting, an application to build a caravan park at Waii Point on the Lake Foreshore was accepted in principle. The site will have room for 150 caravans. The developers have plans to turn the area into a tourist park, complete with a restaurant and tavern, a marina with 20 boats, and a sewage treatment plant. The 21-hectare site is owned by a Shellco Proprietary Limited.
Who says things like that. Len Evans in the show ring has said
responsibility to talk about the traditional
I should say, having said that, that I'm going to all and the President.
New experimental styles and varieties. And the message must go out to promote the consumption of wine generally.
Firstly, the basic wine technology of the country is very, very good. Secondly, the price for the quality you get is exceptional value. Thirdly, the quality can only improve as varieties and new areas come into being. And fourthly, a recent survey said that 60% of all the population are light to non-drinkers of wine. Now, light to non-drinkers is 1 glass of wine per fortnight. Somebody is not doing their job, because that means there's a fantastic market out there. If we can only introduce to the people that don't drink wine already the pleasures of having 1 glass of wine with their dinner. It's not a lot to ask. And you, the press corps, have got an enormous part to play in just pushing that simple message. You tend to speak and write to the converted, to those that are interested. And the Chardonnays, the Pinot Noirs, the new varieties, the new areas is your message. But the real message should be, you sausage eaters and beer drinkers out there, have a glass of cask wine. I don't care if it's no better than that. Cask wine with your dinner, and the wine industry could not supply. The future is rosy, and the future for the hunter is rosy. Thank you very much.
Mr. Stanton is calling for the reintroduction of courtesy into clubs.
Well, my suggestions really are directed at improving the performances of staff and making, hopefully making secretary managers realise that there is a need for their staff to improve and uplift their performance, and if they do, they can expect better results in the form of improved profits and more attendance by members and visitors and people generally wanting to come and use their club and therefore generate more profit.
What should the staff be doing?
There's many things that they can be doing, and it's the problem for the secretary manager to recognise is what is required in his respective club. The circumstances differ from club to club and from members to members. You know, there are different types of members in every club, and they've got to be handled differently according to their needs. Hopefully my presence here is to help motivate the secretary managers to recognise this need and give them some hints on how perhaps they might be able to develop their staff along those lines.
If we operated at the same level of efficiency as the better American utilities, we would need about 600 people to run the place, and we currently have 1,600.
How would you make the Hunter District Water Board more efficient?
Well, there are many things involved in that. Better organisation, appropriate promotion, training people to do their jobs better, improvement in organisation and methods. They're all quite standard measures, but there's no single trick. It's a multi-pronged thing to gradually shake the outfit down.
The board's salaried staff met yesterday afternoon and decided not to engage in a mudslinging match with the board. They did say, though, that they were disgusted with Dr. Patterson's comments on past and present employees. They hope to meet with the Minister for Water Resources, Mr. Whelan, to discuss the situation.
Thanks, John. Good morning. Down at Merriweather Beach. The waves are still big this morning and it's not as good as I thought it might have been. The wind's slight on shore from the east-southeast at the moment. Waves up around 2 metres. Very solid swell, ground swell with long lines. Most of our city beaches, unfortunately, are closing out. The situation's very similar to yesterday morning, except that the wind's not quite as strong. We don't have those rain clouds hanging around. If you're looking for waves, the only rideable beaches, Stockton, Nobbies and Blacksmiths. Nothing else much around for the board riders at all. There were waves out here at Merriweather yesterday afternoon. We had quite a few guys out in the water, waves around the 2 metre mark. Maybe that'll come good again today. At the moment, it just doesn't look all that good at all. If you're thinking about going for a swim, situation also unchanged. All of our city beaches, quite dangerous. Stockton and Blacksmiths in the southern corners, really only the safe areas. And as far as the weather's concerned today, taking a look at the forecast, we have early cloud and then sunny and mild to warm conditions. East to northeasterly winds, at 20 to 30 kilometres per hour. Seas slight on a low to moderate swell. The outlook for Saturday, warm and humid with northeasterly winds. Newcastle today heading for a top of 26 degrees, Scone expecting 28. High tide this morning was at 6:28, 1.6 metres. Low tide will be at 11 minutes past 1 this afternoon at 0.4 of a metre. We are expecting northeasterly winds to develop along the New South Wales coast. They're already down on the south coast. They should be in our area late this afternoon and during tomorrow. And unfortunately, no more rain for the time being. One thing to leave you with this morning. Last night, some thoughtful people managed to come down to Merewether Baths and break a lot of glass on the promenade here. Not too good at all. All that glass around, people could be cutting their feet very badly. That's all in our surf and weather report this morning. We'll be back on Monday morning.
Good morning everyone and welcome once again. Last week, as you recall, I was suggesting that everyone should make sure that their insurance was updated in no uncertain terms, and I referred of course to the tragic disasters in South Australia and Victoria. Now in a social sense, I'd like to take that theme a little further. I have suggested to the Federal Treasurer that to encourage people to help themselves, it might be a good idea if, for example, the costs of a fire extinguisher or fire protection equipment were to be allowed as a tax deduction. What do you think about that idea? And I've gone one step further. I've also suggested, again to help people protect themselves, that the costs of insurance premiums, and I'm talking about insurance premiums, not only on the house but on the contents, should also be allowed as a tax deduction, or there might be a tax rebate given. Now, not because I've made the suggestions, but I think they're very, very practical ones, and I'm delighted to say that the Federal Treasurer is giving those suggestions very sympathetic consideration. But I've got to throw it back at you. Now, it's all very well for me to make these suggestions. If you like those thoughts and ideas, why don't you write to your local Member of Parliament right now, and I'm talking about state member and your federal member, and put the suggestion to him, because I'm firmly convinced that if enough people raise these all-important issues with their members of parliament, with their local councils, etc., something will be done about it. Now, in the meantime, I again repeat without apology that all-important question of last week. Have you updated your insurance policies? If you haven't, it's about time that you did so. Talk to your insurance company, make sure you insure your assets for their true value and particularly their replacement value, and if you don't, you're asking for trouble. I'll see you next Monday.
Good evening, punters. Big day of racing tomorrow, especially in Melbourne, where we have the Newmarket Handicap at Flemington. But firstly, we'll go to Beaumont Park for the Greyhounds, and tomorrow, don't forget, on Sports Centre 3 you'll get all the racing live, both from the Greyhounds and the last two races from Sydney. But tomorrow at Beaumont Park, the Daily Double are on races 8 and 10. In the first leg, I've gone for the red, number 1, Ain't She Black, and in the second leg, number 5, Supreme Lil. Now, your trifecta is on race 8. The numbers are 1, 2 and 7. Ain't She Black to beat 40-30 and I Remember Lucy. Now, your extra double tomorrow on races 7 and 9. In the first leg, number 3, Schwanny 3, and in the second leg, number 1, Miss Farella. Now, you're racing at Harold Park, and that's tonight. The races 5 and 7 of the Daily Double. In the first leg, I've gone for number 8, Thor Hondo, and in the second leg, number 9, New Century. Your Harold Park trifecta is 4, 2 and 10. Regal Air to beat Hall Humour and Tricky One. And don't forget, on Saturday night there's a meeting over at Newcastle, and it is for the NBN Telethon, so get yourself over there. There's 7 races on the card and it's a 7:25 start. Racing tomorrow in Sydney is at Rose Hill. Should be a very good meeting down there, and the Rosemont Classic Wines Handicap is one of the features of the day, and it should make it all the better for Shirako with Emancipation not running. Emancipation had too much weight, so Neville Begg decided to scratch her. The first leg of the Daily Double is race 5. Here I've gone for number 6, Flash Doll. And in the second leg, race 7, I've gone for 7, The Fun of It. In your trifecta, which is race 7, the numbers are 7, 2 and 6. The Fun of It to beat Tandrio and Lunar Flame. Now down at Flemington, the $151,000 Newmarket Handicap, a very good field of sprinters, and I've selected number 5 Bold Jet. In the second leg, number 12 Lemon Princess. Your trifecta is on the Newmarket. Here I've gone for 5, 6 and 4. Bold Jet to beat Harpagus and Razor Sharp. Up north they race at Doomben, pretty tricky up there. The daily double on races 7 and 8, and your trifecta is on race 5. But in the first leg I've selected number 12 Gastronome. In the second leg, number 4 Arctic Thought. Your trifecta on race 5, the numbers 6, 2 and 11, Some Unit, Smiler Kyle and Staying Alive. Don't forget the live racing on Sports Centre 3 tomorrow about 3 o'clock. Till then, good luck and good punting.
Today's announcement by the Health Minister doesn't guarantee a new hospital for Newcastle, but it does take this recommendation of the Olsen report a major step closer to reality. The concept is for a 400-bed hospital which would take over many of the specialist services presently located at Newcastle, the Mater and Wallsend. The Minister said the feasibility study would look at a number of sites, but Rankin Park is clearly favoured. Mr Brereton would not speculate on what such a hospital would cost, but informed sources put the price tag at around $130 million.
Tattersalls Club was the venue for the testimonial luncheon for Mr Clem Roworth, who has retired as manager of the Newcastle branch of the Royal Blind Society after 17 years in the job. Mr Roworth's efforts are all the more remarkable when one considers he's been totally blind himself since his teenage years. The day was organised by some of the people he's helped to accept their blindness and lead lives as normal as possible. Mr Roworth praises the strides science is taking in making life a little easier for the sight handicapped. However, he called on the blind to contribute more to the community.
I hope and wish that blind people generally will come forward and do as I did, feel that they are part of the community, and this is the important thing. They need to feel that they're a part of the community, and if they don't put forth their views, well then they're going to be left behind.
Well, on behalf of the people of the viewing area, may I say congratulations to you and thank you very much for your efforts throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you.
Tomago Aluminium threw open its doors today to allow the public to inspect the new plant. The purpose of the open day was twofold. It gave prospective employees a chance to look over the complex, as well as providing a venue for a fundraising event. All proceeds from the day will go towards the NBN Telethon in aid of the radiology section of the proposed oncology unit at the Mater Hospital. Tomago Aluminium says it will match dollar for dollar the money raised on the day and donate it to the telethon appeal. Meanwhile, at Nelson Bay, people came out in their thousands to enjoy the sunny conditions and to raise money for the telethon. Organisers say more than $2,000 was raised on the day, thanks to the efforts of the service clubs who worked on the various food stalls. But the Aquatic Fun Day did have one dark spot. During the speedboat race, Glenn Blanche of Nelson Bay flipped his boat. Glenn broke his collarbone in the accident, and the search is continuing for his missing boat.
Thank you, John. Good morning. Merriweather Beach it is. Conditions are overcast at the moment, the wind blowing from the south. It's reasonably cool along the beach fronts this morning, and there aren't too many waves around either. The swell's quite small and we have waves around 1 metre at most of the open beaches, and with that southerly wind blowing all last night, conditions this morning are quite choppy. It looks like we're going to receive a few showers along the coastal fringe even this morning. If you'd like to go for a swim today, most of our city beaches are quite safe. There's a little bit of weed in the water and the water's quite cold as well, but conditions are quite safe. For the board riders, the tide's very high, conditions very full, and the waves may improve a little during the morning, and even a little bit more if that wind does drop, although we're expecting another southerly change later in our region tonight. The southerly we have at the moment, of course, came through last night. It wasn't expected to reach Newcastle, but it sure did, and we have overcast conditions with fairly strong southerly winds at the moment. The forecast for today, the fire danger for the inland is very high. We're expecting a very warm day inland, tempered on the coast by southeast to northeasterly winds at 20 to 40 kilometres per hour. Mostly cloudy near the coast, lengthy sunny periods for the inland, seas mainly slight on a low swell. Newcastle today heading for a top of 29 degrees, as is Taree, and Scone expecting 36. And the outlook for tomorrow, mild to warm with a shower or two and southeasterly winds. High tide this morning will be at 8:16, 1.7 metres. Low tide at 2:43 this afternoon at 0.4 of a metre. Well, there you have it. Doesn't look like being too good a day for the beach at all. Southerly winds, overcast conditions, not too many ways for the board riders. A good day to be going back to work. We'll be back again tomorrow morning.